One glow-up tip that you hear in every single video out there, especially if the person has Chinese, Japanese, or Korean origin, talks about tea as their secret weapon for acne, healthy skin, hair, weight, brain health, metabolism, aging, etc. I wanted to know if it was overhyped, and I read several studies on the subject that I compared, and oh my gosh, it's even been looked at how it prevents cancers like prostate cancer for men, but also vaginal health in women. Another study talks about the fact that green tea users literally live longer. My only question is, why didn't I start drinking green tea consistently earlier? It's Nova, and you're listening to the Supernova Shift podcast. I'm really happy that you're listening today because I'm about to dump so much valuable information on your plate. Today we're going to talk about the history and cool facts behind your cup of tea, the incredible power that this drink has on beauty, health, body composition, cancer, disease prevention, brain and cognitive function, all based on scientific studies that we're going to explore. And of course, your guide so that you can harness its benefits fully. I'll give you a guide so that you can choose your teas according to your wellness goals with some hacks that you can easily do because it's impossible to drink all the teas that exist. You have to pick certain ones to fit your goals. And then 9 commonly asked questions that people repeat all the time. Like, when is it the best time to drink tea? Is it dehydrating? What's the healthy amount to drink per day? Can it help with weight loss? How do I use it for skincare? Etc., etc. We're going to start with the history chapter, and I'm going to include this chapter because I think it's so important and nice to just know how long it has developed and how it got here in your cup of tea. And I think it's just really beneficial and nice to have this kind of knowledge. Well before the era of scientific development and studies, ancient Asian civilizations already knew the health power that tea has, and they used it broadly for various purposes. It appeared thousands of years ago, but we cannot exactly pinpoint the start of its existence because it's so old, kind of like meditation. The legend says that tea was discovered in 2737 before Christ by a Chinese emperor named Shen Nong when a leaf drifted into his pot of boiling water, and that is how tea started to be used for medicinal practices. At least that is what the legend says. And then in ancient China, tea was a medicinal elixir long before it became the daily drink on our table. By the Tang Dynasty, tea culture had flourished. There were entire books dedicated to tea etiquette, like Lu Yu's book on the classic of tea, the first monograph on tea in the world, a book of roughly 7,000 Chinese characters. Then tea traveled to Japan, where it became sacred in Zen Buddhist rituals. The Japanese tea ceremony, or cha no yu, sorry for my amazing pronunciation, was born, a practice that was emphasizing spiritual awareness, self-discipline, and really aesthetic refinement. And during the preparation and serving of matcha, they would have this entire ceremony. And this anecdote makes me think of the matchmaker scene in the Mulan movie where she has to get ready to serve tea. You know, I have so much cultural references over there. And then caravans carried bricks of tea across Central Asia. And by the 1600s, tea had made its way to Europe, arriving first to Portugal and then the Netherlands. It spread very fast through Britain, and it quickly became a fashionable drink, especially among the upper, richer class, and eventually the entire nation. Britain's love for tea actually ignited colonial trade empires, tea taxes, and even revolution. You can think of the Boston Tea Party of 1773, when American colonists protested British tea taxes and dumped chests of tea into the Boston harbor. The British East India Company turned to India, and they planted huge tea estates there, and that led to the global rise of black tea and the birth of traditions like masala chai. Maybe you're picturing a delicious spiced creamy beverage like me right now. That was a sweet, quick little summary of tea history. Of course, there's a lot more to include, but I don't want to make this episode boring. At least now you have a little more worldview on the history of tea. Then we're going to move on to the power of teas, chapter 2, where we're going to look at all the scientific benefits, or the scientific proven benefits of tea. And we're going to start with green tea because it's the one tea that has been recognized for having the most benefits. It's the one that's the most talked about. And don't worry, even if you don't like green tea, other teas are incredible as well. We're going to talk about that later, but we're just going to start with a few studies with research on cancer prevention, powers, and other proven benefits. I also want to say that the studies, or just studies in general, always say, it may be beneficial or it may help with this or that, but it's not because they don't actually have proof. It's because they can't state directly like, oh yes, drinking green tea every day will make you immune against cancer, because it's not like if you drink green tea, you're never gonna get cancer. But you get my point. I have to say the studies are extremely positive, unlike the probiotic studies in our gut health video or gut health podcast, where, it was pretty balanced. But here it's really positive, and we're going to look at 3 of them. I will link them in the description if there's nerds like me that want to check them out. But the first one is we're going to look at the science-backed health benefits of green tea in general. And that study, the name of the study is Green Tea, Biochemical and Biological Basis for Health Benefits. The authors are, oh my gosh, my pronunciation, Xu Tsung Liao, Yong Si Kao, and Richard A. Hipaka. Those, Chinese names. Then we have, or except for Richard, maybe. It was published in 2001. The publisher is Elsevier in Vitamins and Hormones. The key benefits that were identified in this study were that catechins in green tea have potent antioxidant and anti-tumor effects. Catechins are a specific type of polyphenol found in high amounts in green tea. They have strong antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer properties. We'll look at that more in detail in the cancer study later on. Green tea may help reduce serum lipids, which is basically cholesterol, lower blood pressure, and modulate immune responses. It shows potential as an antibacterial agent for food preservation, and it is widely used as a natural antioxidant in both health and food industries. The second study is medicinal properties and non-cancer health benefits of green and black tea. So we have green and black tea this time. It appears in a scientific review. The exact article, name, or journal is not specified, but it is assumed that it is from Scholarly. It was published, again, it is not explicitly stated, but it refers to recent literature likely posted in the 2000s. And the source type was from the scientific review article. I find all my studies on Google Scholar, where you can just type, benefits of green tea, and then you have loads and loads and loads of scientific studies on the subject. It could be anything. Once I typed coconut oil, when you do coconut oil, like washing your mouth with that, there are also a lot of health benefits on that. All you have to do is just type it in, but it doesn't always exactly specify like who made it. The key benefits identified in this study was that green tea contains epigallocatechin gallate, also known as EGCG, with anti-cancer, antioxidant, and anti-angiogenesis effects. Angiogenesis is basically the process of forming new blood vessels. It's normal in wound healing, but cancer tumors can kind of like hijack that process to feed themselves and grow. So EGCG slows the formation of tumors. So, people don't refer to it as epigallocatechin galates, and I also just realized that I said catechins before, but it's actually catechin. Yes, my amazing pronunciation. The next benefit is that it may improve heart health and reduce the risk of atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is a condition where plaque builds up inside your arteries and narrows them. It reduces blood flow, and that can lead to heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure. Then the next benefit that was found was that theanine, which is unique to green tea, may help reduce stress and promote relaxation. Then there are theaflavins in black tea that may reduce cholesterol. And green tea extracts have synergistic effects when combined with other polyphenols. So synergistic effects mean that when two or more compounds work together, their combined effects is greater than the sum of their individual effects. So it just is more efficient. And green tea is also used in topical skincare due to anti-aging and antioxidant properties. The study number 3 is called Green Tea as a Cancer Preventive in Humans, the cancer study I talked about. The authors are a Japanese research team. Specific names are not listed, and it was published in 2005. The publisher is Wiley Periodicals, Inc. in the Chemical Record. The key benefits that were identified was that EGCG reduces tumor necrosis. Factor alpha TNF alpha, okay, this is a bit complicated, but I'm going to explain everything, which is a marker of inflammation and cancer risk. TNF alpha is basically a protein produced by our immune system, helping inflammation and defense against infection. But too much TNF alpha can contribute to, among other things, there's like other diseases, but it also contributes to cancer growth. And it said in the abstract that 10 cups of green tea daily with around a 2.5 gram extract significantly delays cancer onset and prevents recurrence of cancer. 10 cups seems like a lot because I think the max that was recommended was 3 or 5, but not sure on that. It says that green tea is shown to work well in combination with cancer preventive drugs. And there was confirmed effectiveness through epidemiological studies in Japan. And epidemiological studies, complicated word, basically mean that they are research studies that look at patterns, causes, and effects of health and disease in large groups of people. But what I just, all shared was on green tea, but most teas all share the benefits in health, beauty, body composition. So I have made a guide so that you can pick the right teas according to your specific goals. It could be skin, it could be health, it could be body composition. You should, I recommend taking out a notepad because I'm going to spill everything and I'll give you a hack that you can use for each one. The goals here are clear skin and anti-aging, less bloating and better digestion, stress reduction and better sleep, heart health and cholesterol reduction, weight loss and body fat reduction, and focus and mental clarity. So when it comes to the goals that you're interested in, you can, take note of the teas that you can choose for your goal. I'll have different types of teas so that, if you don't like one of them, you can pick another one. So here is your tea guide based on your specific goals. The first one is clear skin and anti-aging. The best teas for this are green tea, white tea, rooibos, and chamomile because they're rich in antioxidants, they reduce inflammation from the inside, and they support collagen production. So the hack here, or tip, is to drink 1 or 2 cups daily and use cooled tea as a facial rinse or an eye compress. Some people have been putting tea bags on their eyes, and it is actually scientifically proven, like it makes sense that it works. You can use green tea as a facial toner. You can, but if you don't want to leave it on your face, if you think that's not very hygienic, you can just use it as a face wash, like a face rinse. The second goal is weight loss and body fat reduction. Of course, drinking tea is not going to make you magically lose weight. Like, it cannot be a substitute for a healthy lifestyle and working out and eating healthy, but it can help in various ways to curb appetite and just boost your metabolism. The best teas for this are green tea, oolong, black tea, and yerba mate. It's going to boost your metabolism, support fat burning, curb appetite. And the tip here is to sip it before workouts or in between meals. Next goal is less bloating and better digestion. The best teas for this are peppermint, ginger, fennel, and dandelion, because it's going to soothe your gut, reduce gas, and support liver detox. So you can drink it after meals or when you're bloated. This hack is a bit more obvious, but you can drink it at specific times so that it can help you even more. The next goal is less stress and better sleep. Lavender, lemon balm, chamomile, and green tea with low caffeine are the best options for this, because it's going to calm your nerves, lower your cortisol, and just support deeper rest. And the hack is to, a lot of people are going to say, sip before bed, or right before you go to bed. Not a good idea, because it's going to have the opposite effect, because you're just gonna have to pee all night, and it's going to prevent you from sleeping. So what I would recommend is drinking it 1 hour before bed, or like 2 hours before bed, or maybe right after your dinner. Depends what time you have your dinner at. But yeah, so then you have time to go to the bathroom, and then it doesn't prevent you from sleeping. Or just when you're stressed, it can help calm down. I think it's underrated, because I've definitely noticed that when I drink tea, it just really calms me down, because it's hot, so I have to drink it slowly. And yeah, it's actually magic how it calms down. The next goal is heart health and lower cholesterol. Green tea, black tea, and hibiscus tea are going to be your allies here. They're going to support your circulation, lower LDL, and protect your arteries overall. So it's important to make it a habit, of course, like a daily ritual, and drink 1 to 3 cups a day for best results, because if you skip it for a few days, it's important to be consistent with this. And our last goal is more focus and mental clarity. The best teas are matcha, green tea, yerba mate, and ginseng tea. If you don't maybe you like green tea, but you don't like matcha. I'm not a huge fan of matcha, especially since a lot of matchas that you have to buy in cafes, they're quite expensive. You can make them at home, but again, you have to buy all the equipment that you might not want to do that. Then sometimes they add milk that have sugar in them, or they sweeten them. So I just like drinking high quality green tea at home. You don't have to drink a tea because it's healthy and you don't like it. You can choose another option that suits you. Or when it comes to ginseng tea, you can buy tea that already has ginseng in it, or you can even buy ginseng tea and add ginseng roots in your tea. You can adapt it to your lifestyle. And these teas are great because they have more caffeine, and it's just a great combo boost for alert and calm because of the theanine that it contains. And a great tip is to replace coffee, for studying or work with these type of teas, because they're not going to have the negative effect on your body. They're going to have really positive effect, and they're actually going to give you focus and clarity while being beneficial, which is amazing. And our last chapter is common listener or viewer questions about tea that honestly I've heard like a bazillion times. Like, when is it the best time to drink tea? It really depends on your goal. You should drink it in the morning with, green or black tea for energy and metabolism. After meals, peppermint or ginger are the best. Peppermint tea is also really good for acne. If you have acne, peppermint is great. And in the evening, you can have chamomile or lavender for relaxation. The second question is, does tea dehydrate you because of the caffeine that is in there? Or some people say like, oh, tea isn't actually healthy for you because there's caffeine and I can't tolerate caffeine. Tea is actually really hydrating, because it's water, duh. But even if it contains caffeine, you need a lot of tea for it to have a dehydrating effect. Herbal teas are 100% caffeine free and super hydrating if you really can't tolerate caffeine. The third question is, can tea help me lose weight? I'm pretty sure I've already answered this one. It can help with your metabolism and other things, but only as part of healthy lifestyle. Green, black, and oolong tea may boost your metabolism and support fat burning, but they're not magical. They're not gonna make you lose weight all of a sudden. The fourth question is, what's the difference between green, black, white, and herbal tea? Basically, green, white, oolong, and black tea all come from the same plant, which is Camellia sinensis, but are processed differently. While herbal teas are made from herbs, flowers, fruits like chamomile, rooibos, or mint, and are usually caffeine-free. Personally, I don't really like rooibos tea because it usually has some added flavors like vanilla and that kind of stuff. And it just doesn't taste natural, like especially the vanilla flavoring. I'm not a big fan. I like a nice traditional tea that doesn't have any additives in it. But of course, everyone likes, different kind of teas. The fifth one is, can I drink tea on an empty stomach? Yes, of course you can, but some people find green tea or black tea too strong without food. So you can try herbal teas or, after breakfast if you feel queasy. The sixth one is, how many cups of tea a day is healthy? And the recommendation is 2 to 4 cups a day is generally safe and beneficial. But for green tea, you should really stick under 4 to 5 cups daily to avoid too much caffeine or iron absorption issues. It depends what you mean by a cup, of course, because I have this little English teacup that is pretty small, but some people drink in mugs, which is 3 times that much. So again, it really depends. The seventh question is, are tea bags worse than loose leaf tea? And it's actually a question I was asking myself like a few months ago. And the answer is actually what I thought it was. Loose leaf tea is usually higher quality, but many tea bags are still fine. It is lower quality because it's like those tiny, leaves, and it's not actually, because loose leaf tea, you're gonna have those better quality leaves in a way that it's just gonna infuse better. It's gonna give a lot more taste. I would make green tea with loose leaf tea, and the color was much more vibrant. The taste was, it was much tastier, and just tea bags are still fine, but they're cheaper. But just avoid bleached or plastic-based bags, and really check the ingredients so that it doesn't have, any added sugars or flavorings. The eighth one is it okay to sweeten my tea? Natural sweeteners like stevia and honey are okay in moderation, of course, but you should really skip the sugar, at least I think so. If your goals are weight loss, clear skin or reduced inflammation, putting white sugar or even brown sugar, straight up in your cup of tea is going to create inflammation, it's going to create acne, and it might not make you gain weight, but the problem is if it's in between meals and you add sugar into your tea, it's just, you're gonna have blood sugar spike, like it's not the best. The last question is, can I use tea for skin or hair care? which, well, of course you can. It's really trendy on the internet recently, but my question is more, how do you use tea for skin or hair care? What you can do is have cooled green chamomile or black tea, and you can use it as a toner for acne-prone or irritated skin. Especially, you can use green tea for that. So you just brew a really strong cup of green tea, and then you keep it in a clean, squeaky clean bottle. You pour it in there, and it can last a few days in the fridge. I personally wouldn't go over 3 days, because then there's like bacteria that starts to form in there. 3 days max. Or you can rinse your hair for shiny, stronger hair. You can rinse your hair with tea. Or some people do it with rice water as well. But the only thing is that you have to make big amounts. Or you can use it as a soothing eye compress for puffiness. You can see it everywhere on the internet, like these it girls putting tea bags on their eyes. I would add that you can actually put those tea bags in the fridge, or even in the freezer, like a few minutes in the freezer so it cools down really quickly, and then you can put them on your eyes. It works wonderfully. Or you can, once you finish your tea, you can open the tea bag, take the tea leaves, squeeze the water out, really important step, and then add some honey, and then it makes a really nice face mask, like green tea and honey, which are 2 ingredients that I like peak when it comes to DIY face masks. And yeah, you can use it in ice cubes as well. What I mean is, if you ice your face in the morning with an ice cube, like sometimes I use my ice roller and like I ice pimples and stuff, what you can do is in your ice roller put a mix of water, aloe vera, maybe a bit of honey, and your green tea leaves, and it makes this amazing, face or like ice roller, but with a bunch of stuff in there. And then of course you wash your face once you've done that. It's an amazing and easy at-home face treatment. I'm afraid we have reached the end of this episode. You were listening to the Supernova Shift podcast. I'm really happy that you listened to the end, because now you have all the knowledge that you need to harness the powers of teas. As usual, spread the love by sharing this episode with your family or your friends, and check my Instagram where you can DM or tag me. I have posts, I have healthy recipes, healthy breakfast recipes, inspiration, bullet journal inspiration, quotes for motivation, lifestyle, everything. I highly recommend you check it out. I'll see you next Monday for a brand new episode.